Hello photographers, and welcome to this episode of Urban Edge Studios. In this episode we're going to be breaking down everything we do start to finish to set up Urban Edge Studios here. Let's get started.
Baby, I'ma hold you tight. Give me just another night. Maybe on the morning light, like we used to do when you were mine. Baby, I'ma hold you.
Alright, so we're going to give you a rundown of everything from the phone and the software we use to do our business development, all the way through the gear that we use and what we do for hosting in the website and all that good stuff. So first and foremost, we use a smartphone with Instagram to do all our business development. So that's where we find our agencies and our models and things like that and build those relationships, network, and do all of that business development. Now, we hop over on Pages and Mail on the Mac to do our contract exporting, our PDF, and to send those off to our actual models and things like that when we're prepping for a photo shoot. We also assemble our wardrobe details document inside of Pages on the Mac, and then we send that off so that the models know what to expect on a photo shoot with us. That just gives them a rundown. Now, moving on to the gear, we primarily use a Canon 5D Mark IV with a 135 f2, and then we have an 85 1.2, and then we have a 100mm 2.8L macro that we use for some of our video stuff. So those are the three primary lenses we use there. Now we also use a CFast card here. This one is we got basically when we got the camera. Might have even come with it, but 64 gig Lexar here has been doing really well. When we shoot photos, we do that duplicate feature that writes the exact same photo to both cards at the same time for that redundancy. We also use SanDisk SD cards there for all of the photo and video stuff as well. So that's what we do on the card side of things. We've got this Hu2 dongle that we've been using for a few years here. There's a few other dongles we've used in the past that haven't lasted. That one has. It's probably 35 or 40 bucks on Amazon, so it's been doing pretty well over the years. And then once we get done with the photo shoot, we take the SD card from SanDisk, plop it in the Hu2 dongle, and then it goes straight onto a Samsung T7 drive here. That's where we do all of our editing, whether or not we're hopping from the iMac to the MacBook Pro or the actual iPad Pro. So everything lives on there. Now, once it's done on that Samsung T7, we have an archive drive, which is a Western Digital 6 terabyte. It's a USB 3.0 hard drive. It's a mechanical traditional hard drive. That's what we use for the archive. Now, once we're operating on the Samsung T7, if you look this one up, they're still pretty expensive. This is just a 1 terabyte one, but it just helps the workflow just be so much quicker when you're editing photos and videos off this. The read-write speeds on the T7 are about 1,000 megabytes per second, so really quick for the type of work that we're doing. So whether or not you're doing your 1080p stuff or 4K video, really good read-write speed there for your average size projects. Now, we do Lightroom on the M1 MacBook Pro, but we also have a 2019 iMac with 64 gig of RAM that works really well for Lightroom. So that's been going really well. Now we started doing a little bit of both because Lightroom was not yet really optimized for the M1 MacBook Pro, and it just was running like crap. So we decided to use the iMac just for the Lightroom part of it. Now, once we're done with that, we take the T7 drive, we plug it into the iPad, and we actually use Affinity Photo now for the actual photo editing process, the cleanup and all that good stuff. When we add those highlights and the lowlights and the split toning, all that stuff we do for our portraits, that's done in Affinity Photo now, but it's been done for the last 6 or 7 years in Photoshop on the iMac. Affinity Photo on the iPad gives us just like so much more control, and it's just a little bit more fun and kind of organic to play with the photo hands-on like that on the iPad. So that's what we've been doing lately. Now from there, we'll actually hop onto Procreate, and that's what we use to not only add the artistic flair to our photos, but to assemble the magazine itself. So we can actually export from Procreate as a PDF, and that's what we use to publish the magazine. So it comes out in PDF form, and we found out that we can actually, if we try to publish that from Procreate as a PDF using the best possible format, that file size is huge. It's like 500 or 600 or 700 megabytes. It's ridiculous. But you can export it using better quality versus best quality, and it comes out still about 50 megabytes or so, which is way more manageable than 10 times that. So that's been working really well. But that's what we use Procreate for, is that artistic flair and then the magazine assembly. Before that was actually Affinity Illustrator, and we used that for one issue of 360 Raw magazine. And what happened was, after we did our export and everything was good to go, we came back the next day and tried to open that file, and it said 0 bytes on the file that we had just worked with the previous couple of weeks. So somehow there's a bug somewhere that it just zeroed out the file somehow, and it could have been user error, of course, but yeah, once that happened, we just never used Affinity Illustrator ever again. So that was that issue. But before that was, for about the first 10 issues, we used Canva on the web there. It's been really, really helpful in building this stuff up. It doesn't give you a lot of artistic flexibility, but it's really, really good. Allows you to kind of follow templates and stuff like that. But it does kind of box you in creatively a lot of times, because that's really what it's designed to do. If you don't have, if you're not a designer, Canva kind of makes you feel like a designer there. So that's what we use for a lot of those first issues right out the gate. Now from there, once the magazine is actually exported in PDF form, we have the archiving system that we use. We back it up on here, and then it actually goes to that Western Digital I mentioned previously. But from there, it actually goes up, and we host our website with GoDaddy. So our domains and our hosting are all through GoDaddy right now. And that's where we have the magazine that's kind of put in our 360 Raw platform. Now, before this, we were actually using Patreon for a long time. Patreon has those membership tiers set up. Now, if you've never used Patreon, they have a lot of fees associated with transferring money and using the platform and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine once you're first getting started, but in the event you want to keep more of your money, you're going to want to have to find a platform that actually lets you, doesn't charge you so many fees. So we spent a lot of time looking at what our subscribers and our members actually liked about the platform, and took that, and that's what we used to build our 360 Raw platform that we built custom in-house here. So Patreon was really, really good to get started. It was a great learning experience, but we've since kind of split off from that. So we have full control over our platform now because it's built in-house. So we really, really like what we're doing with that one. And actually, if you're a creator, a photographer, and you've been looking for a Patreon-like kind of creator feed, or like with the tiers that Patreon offers, we're actually thinking about opening up our 360 Raw platform to be more of a public creator feed, and allowing creators to create their own content, post their own content, and make money using a platform that's solely theirs. One of the things we liked least about Patreon was, of course, it was on patreon.com, which is great for Patreon, but we wanted to have our own branding associated with that. So that's what we like about our platform, is that if other creators want to use our 360 Raw platform, we can actually set it up in a way that it's completely part of their website. At least it would look that way. So it wouldn't be urbanedgestudios.com/your username or something like that. We don't want to do what Patreon was doing there. We want to have creators and photographers allow their own brand to stand out. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please let us know in the comments, and we're just kind of we're trying to gauge interest on that particular topic right now. So let us know if that's something that's interesting to you. Now from there, we actually have our full website that was initially built on WordPress. So once we first got started, it's really, really quick to develop your website on WordPress. You can post your blog posts, and if you're doing lookbooks and things like that, it's really, really cool to be able to do that, because the archiving stuff is automatic with WordPress, and it just handles a lot of the heavy lifting that comes from having a website so easily. So we started with WordPress, but since then we've moved away from that, and we have a custom website that's HTML and CSS, and it has PHP on the back end if you're familiar with that. But we ended up doing a custom website just so we could have full control over everything, and we didn't want to rely on one specific platform to do what we wanted to do. So that's just kind of how we work through that. So as you can see, we've got this trend of starting out with kind of open-minded, using some of those platforms that are tried and true and exist for great reasons. But once we learn what we really, really want to do, that's when we break out and do that kind of custom platform or custom website and things like that. So that's just how we like to operate here at Urban Edge Studios. So, all right, guys, that's everything we do here at Urban Edge Studios, all the way from the iPhone and Instagram and our business development to every single app that we use and hardware piece that we use, all the way through our entire process to go from from booking a model all the way up to publishing our magazine on our custom 360 Raw platform. If you have any questions about anything we talked about today, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.
Baby, I'ma hold you